I'm Rhona Corscadden and I'm a Senior Event Manager at EventScotland. I think the title of my presentation is Public Sector Funding, which doesn't sound that interesting. I think really what you all want to know is how to get EventScotland money. So hopefully I'll be able to do that. This morning I'm going to provide a little bit of background on EventScotland. I'm going to talk through our different funding streams and give you some tips to approaching public funding, and I'm going to finish up with a case study and an example of best practice. So, background, EventScotland. We were established back in 2003, and it was actually on the back of an unsuccessful joint bid for the, I think it was the 2008 European Football Championships. That bid, it failed, but it was recognised that there was nobody in the country driving forward bids, there was nobody driving forward the events industry. So a strategy was developed, and EventScotland was created to deliver the strategy. Now, we are a specialist team within VisitScotland's Events Directorate. So that team is made up of ourselves, EventScotland, there's a business events team, and also the development team, which is led by Mari, who have put today's seminar together. And although the organisation has changed a lot since the 2003, the basics of what we do really has not. We deliver a portfolio of major events, both cultural and sporting. We're not actually on the ground delivering, we've put our headsets down, we generate, bid and develop events that deliver sustainable impacts and international profile for Scotland. So I'm going to talk you through our core funding programmes. When we first started, we just had the two funding programmes, international and national programme. But now we've taken on additional funds from government over the years, so I'm going to talk through some current programmes, our themed year event funds, and also Scotland's winter festivals. So international events, this really is our core business. It's what we were set up to do, and it's about the big events. It's about bidding for, securing, and developing the big international events. The bidding tends to be more focused on the sporting events. We've been working with governing bodies and major partners to secure big sporting events. Recent wins have included the Solheim Cup, European Athletics Indoor Championships. So how do we define an international event? Well, we're talking about the scale of the impacts that they create. So at the most basic level, events which drive high levels of visitation from outside Scotland. And when we talk about an international visitor, we're talking about anybody from outside of Scotland, or events that profile Scotland internationally, and usually by this we mean television coverage. The fund is managed on a rolling basis, so there's no deadlines. It means that we can be reactive and work with lots of different partners and be able to respond to the market. So this is just some images of some of our key international events. Obviously Edinburgh's Hogmanay, which I'm sure you all recognise, and we support the Torchlight Procession on the 30th, and that extends the offer of that event to a 3-day festival, which really increases the impacts to Edinburgh. The Mountain Bike World Cup up in Fort William. We've worked with Highland Council on that event for a number of years to ensure it stays in Fort William and isn't taken elsewhere in the world. The Blair Castle Horse Trials in Perthshire. And this last image is from the MTV Awards, which we worked with MTV for a number of years to secure this and bring this back to Glasgow, and that was delivered at the end of 2014 after quite a spectacular year of events for Scotland. The national programme, this was set up to complement the international programme, and it really is about sporting events that drive domestic tourism. It supports strategic event growth and development. We don't cover core costs through this national programme. It's about strategic growth. So because it's strategic, there is a maximum of 3-year support for any funded event. It's for both sporting and cultural events that take place outside of Edinburgh and Glasgow. And this is, when it was set up, it was to ensure that there's a good spread of activity all around the country, and that really remains the case. It's a competitive fund, so there's 3 deadlines, February, June and October. The June event, the way it falls, the June events for events from January onwards, and a little tip for you, that tends to be the quietest round. So if you can get that to work for your event, the June deadline can be a quiet one. So this is just a few pictures from some of our national events. We've got Buttefest over in the West Coast, the International Sheepdogs, which we worked with down in Moffat last year. That was a great event, real quirky event, especially for any dog lovers. That's Thunder in the Glens. It was new to us this year, and I was up in Aviemore. It was absolutely incredible, over 4,000 bikes. So many visitors in Aviemore. I've never seen the place so busy. And then we've got a tap Loch Ness, which is a rather grueling 100-metre cycle event around Loch Ness. Hopefully those views make up for the sore legs. Themed years. Following the first year of homecoming in 2009, the Scottish Government introduced themed years to develop different aspects of Scotland. Each year we have managed an event fund to create a programme of events around each themed year. Hopefully you're all aware 2016 is the Year of Innovation, Architecture and Design, and we're well into a programme of 28 events. The fund for 2017 Year of History, Heritage and Archaeology has recently closed, and the team are busy assessing all those applications. There are still opportunities, I understand, through the Heritage Lottery Fund, so check that out online if you think you might want to get involved. Each year the fund has been slightly different, and that depends really on the year, the budget and the objectives. 2018 is the Year of Young People. Like a few in the organisation, feeling a little bit too old to speak about that with any sort of authority. We've not really announced anything around the Year of Young People yet. That's likely to be towards the end of the year, beginning of next year. But just make sure you're plugged into our communication channels to find out about that. The winter festivals. Back in 2010, we were asked to deliver a programme of events for the Scottish Government, and this is part of their overall Winter Festival campaign. So it's a programme of events that celebrate our key national days, St Andrew's Day, Hogmanay and Burns Night. We currently have a budget of £390,000 from Scottish Government, and that budget is in principle confirmed up to 2017-2018. Like the national programme, it is a competitive funding round. Just one application per year, opens in April, usually closes around about May time. And it supports a wide range of events. It helped to establish a great new Hogmanay event out in Musselburgh aimed at the family market, Hogmanay in the Honest Tune. There's a new torchlight procession in Glasgow this year for St Andrew's Day, and Big Burns Supper, which is one of our other signature events down in Dumfries. So what are public funders looking for? Well, obviously we're looking for strong event propositions, something that people want to go to, something that showcases the best of Scotland, and something that people are going to travel to Scotland for. We want to work with events that are professionally delivered with high standards and by experienced organisers. Aligning to the different strategies is of course really important. Make sure that you're familiar with the National Event Strategy, which Mary mentioned earlier, Scotland the Perfect Stage, and also that you understand relevant strategies of other funders like Creative Scotland or Heritage Lottery Fund. And of course, if you can deliver across multiple strategies, that's going to be really advantageous. An application to the national programme, which has also got programme that aligns with the different themed years, that's always going to be viewed more positively. And I think Roger's going to talk about that, because the Boat Festival has been really successful with that over the years, aligning to the different themed years. Something else we're always looking for is creative new ways of working, groundbreaking activity that really leads the way. A good example of this is Edinburgh's Hogmanay, who came to us in 2014 with a proposal about working with a group of international bloggers. So we supported that campaign. It was called Blogmanay. Hopefully some of you are aware of it, but really successful social media campaign. It's won numerous PR awards and has become a real model that other events have used to promote themselves. Like some of the other speakers have talked about this morning, partnership approach, it's absolutely integral to EventScotland. We couldn't operate without the vast network of partners that we have, and we look for a similar approach from our events. Most public partners are facing squeezed budgets at the moment, and we're all keen to work together and leverage support from one another. And it doesn't always have to be financial, so anything in kind or maybe promotional support can always help. This was also touched on earlier, but because it can be a challenge as well as a plus. Sometimes securing public funding can help leverage other public funders. So I think it was Roussel talked about it earlier. Sometimes as a national agency, we might ask, oh, have you got the support of your local authority? And they don't. And it's always easier for us to support if you've got that level there. So it's a bit like waiting for a bus to come along. You might have nothing for ages and then two come along together. Key facts and figures, well, we're always going to be looking for certain facts and figures, and anybody that you're looking to for funding is going to look for this. Impacts, attendance numbers, where are people coming from, are they staying overnight, your media coverage, do you have an environmental management plan, business plans, capacity for growth. And this sort of information is going to be really critical. If you've not got this, EventScotland and the team have got lots of templates for business plans, visitor research, calculators to help you work out your environment, your economic impact, that can all help you in this process. How much money can we apply for? That's a question we often get asked. And there are caps on some of the different funding programmes, but really if this is the way you're coming at it, how much money, chances are you're not coming at it the right way, because really we're looking for a strategic approach. It should be driven by the activity for the event and not really about chasing a pot of money. I think critically make sure you've read the criteria for any funding that you're applying to. No matter how great or fantastic your event is, if you're not chiming with the specific criteria for the fund, then it's just not going to be successful, no matter how great your event is. Again, something that's been picked up earlier is who's going to manage the money. It's really important to think about what you want the money for, what impacts it's going to have on the event, but also who's going to be managing it and the impact that that's going to have. Because with public money, there does come accountability, and although Mary said, we've all come from that background, there is a level of administration that comes with any public sector award, and somebody really needs to be managing that. Often the bigger events might have fundraisers, which Louise spoke about earlier. They have somebody going out securing sponsors and then managing those sponsors, managing those relationships. And to be honest, not all that many people apply necessarily that same practice to servicing a public grant. You'd be surprised how much of the time the team spend chasing events to get outcome information and to ultimately release money to the event. So just working with us and making the process as seamless as possible is definitely helpful, especially with squeezed budgets. If you're looking to apply for us, to us, I think the most simple piece of advice I would give to you is pick up the phone and speak to us. We fund events, it's what we do, and so I hope as an organisation we're accessible and approachable. We want to work with great events, and one of the team will always be able to speak to you. I would say that the majority of applications that we receive that are unsuccessful have come to us cold. There's been no discussion in advance of that submission. So speak to an event manager to find out if you fit the criteria and to help shape your funding request so that it meets our objectives, but most importantly, so it meets your objectives as well. I'm going to finish with a quick case study on Gordon Castle Highland Games. They had been running for 2 years in the northeast of Scotland, a small town called Fochabers, which you've got to watch how you say that. And they were attracting around about 2,000 people, and they were looking to grow that event and the offer. So year one, they applied to us for some support to add on a music stage to the event, which was successful. They introduced it. It really helped grow audiences, and it remains part of that programme to this date. In 2014, there was a second application from them, and that was the cost associated with increasing the capacity of site and improving the flow of visitors on site. This was really a critical development for the event, really to address growing audiences. And their final year was around some specific marketing activity to drive out of region visitation. These developments grew audiences from 2,000 in 2013 to over, I think they're about over 9,000 people now up to Fochabers, which is really incredible for quite a small rural town in the northeast of Scotland. I would say it's pretty much textbook stuff in terms of a support from the national programme, clear strategic support to EventScotland funding that has grown the event, and that now the event is completely self-sustaining. Obviously, this model of us coming in and helping an event to grow and then they skip off happily into the sustainable future is not always the model. Some just need public funding, but it is great when it happens. So if you're ever up that neck of the woods, I would definitely go and visit. I suppose to conclude, my top tips would be read the criteria for any application that you're applying to. we've got lots of different funds, various different objectives and criteria, but when you're filling out that application, make sure you're chiming to the criteria for the different fund that you're applying to. And most importantly, speak to us, because we will help you through that process, and we want to help you through that process. Nothing more frustrating than receiving an application that is way off the mark. Yeah. So that's me finished. Any questions?
I think one of the key things that Rhona repeated through the presentation is have a conversation. Sometimes funders can feel a wee bit removed and a wee bit scary, and you think, oh, if I speak to them before I've got my whole act together, they're going to think I don't have my act together or can't get it together. That's absolutely not the case. And the team at EventScotland, as Rhona says, they've all come from a whole range of event backgrounds. They hopefully know what you're going through, know what your, the kind of approaches that you're trying to take. So an early conversation is always a good idea, because it might be that one of the funds, you might say, my event's an international event, and it may be in terms of the programme, in terms of the quality of what you're putting together, but actually in terms of impacts, it may fit more with our national programme, and you may get from that, you may put together a really strong application. It may be it fits with neither, but it could be that there's a special programme, a special project. We manage many of those for Scottish Government, as you know, when there's a big national initiative, there will quite regularly be an events programme that comes alongside that. It may not really be out there yet, but the team know things are coming. So have a chat, and it might be that there's another opportunity which is one that's just not on your radar yet. So I think that's really great advice. Has anyone got any questions for Rhona? Very quiet lot today. There must be one. Katie, you must have a question.
No, I don't think so. I just think I've worked with the guys before, and it's just really to reiterate it, just in terms of picking up the phone and working together as much as possible. But even though I've worked with you all before, I learned a lot from that.
Yes, over here David, down here in the front. Makes it easier for the video if you have the microphone.
Is there a minimum number of tourists or visitors you need at any event in order to give them funding?
Not really. Loosely we might have some figures. I mean, for international, we're looking for big numbers of international visitors coming from outside of Scotland. If you're looking at the lowest level, it kind of depends where your event is taking place as well. So if you've got an event in Edinburgh that's attracting 500 people, the impact's not hugely, it's not very big there. But if you've got something up in the Highlands, it's got 500 people, maybe they're staying for 4 or 5 nights, the impact can be quite significant. And where these people are coming from, how far they're travelling in terms of the geography of the country, it depends. So I suppose we used to say for the national programme around about 1,000 people we were looking for. But it's not firm. It does depend where the event is taking place. So if you're on one of the islands, 1,000 people might just be way beyond you. 500 people might be a huge impact. So we've not got that written down anywhere, that what those specific numbers are. It's sort of on an event basis. Bit of a guide.
I think it's also fair to say our core programmes, international and national, the focus is very much profiling tourism, both international and domestic. But with the Themed Years programme and the Winter Festivals programme, we are looking for a much broader range of outcomes in terms of participation, in terms of celebrating those events and sort of domestic PR. I'm making awful noises here. So, it's always important, as Rhona says, to look at that criteria, because, there are often other impacts or outcomes that we're looking for that are quite specific to a project.
If it's tiny and you've just got a few people, the chances are it's not going to fit. But it goes back just to have a conversation with us.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Rhona.